everybody. Welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia and this is my youngest daughter. What do you want to go by? She doesn't go by what I named her.
I do go by what you named me. I just go by my middle name instead now. So by Jude.
So I guess we're going with Jude today.
That works.
So they came up to Idaho to visit for a little while, and she agreed to come on and do a little Q&A with her mama, and so that's what we're doing today. So tell me, what was like the first book that you remember like reading by yourself?
It was a Dick and Jane book. It was, I don't remember which one it was, but I remember after reading it the first time that I went behind our like 70s floral rocker love seat and read it to myself in the like in between the window and the back of the love seat. That was like my little hangout.
Yeah.
And I was back there rereading it 3 or 4 more times after the first time that it really clicked.
Chapter books? What chapter book do you remember reading for the first time?
I think the Felicity Saves the Day with the bears.
Oh, with the bears.
The bear and she's like berry picking on the cover.
Oh, I think that's Kirsten.
Yeah, there it is. I think you're right. I think it was Kirsten.
So one of the American Girl books.
Yeah, it might have been Kirsten, not Felicity, but whichever one had the berry picking and the bears.
Yeah,
it was probably the first chapter book that I read.
It wasn't as devastating for you as it was for your sister.
Well, she and I are very different personalities. I think even now what we choose to read is, woo, I'm bright. Hi.
I know. See, that's what I was.
I can lower the blinds.
It came out from behind. Yeah.
A little better.
So, do you remember like what book maybe really got you into being a reader?
You read us a lot of books. I don't know that it would have been something that I read to myself necessarily that got me really into books. I think that summer reading programs, that kind of stuff, I was kind of an excessive reader from the start. Excessive. It was excessive. It was, it wasn't just like avid, it was excessive.
There was one summer Melinda had to read like 30 books in order to finish the summer reading program.
It was 100.
And
in order to be entered for a bike.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
and she completed the first like little pamphlet thing that we had that you filled in the names of the books.
For my age group, I didn't technically have to read chapter books.
Right.
But after I was just cruising through the assignments, you started making me read chapter books instead because it was going way too quickly. So
that's right.
You have to start reading chapter books and not just...
I think you filled out like 3 of those little booklets though for the program.
I know that I read like over 250 chapter books that summer. I was reading like 2 a day. It was bad.
Yeah.
I didn't go outside much that summer.
They were like Magic Tree House and
Cam Jansen, Magic Tree House, Encyclopedia Brown. Wasn't allowed to read Goosebumps. You already said A to Z Mysteries. Did you already say that?
No, I forgot about A to Z.
Did those Boxcar Children.
Bobbsey Twins.
I read the Bobbsey Twins. I also did more of the Hardy Boys than Nancy Drew.
Yeah, you were very much more a Hardy Boys.
I wasn't into Nancy.
No.
Hank the Cowdog. I read some Hank the Cowdog chapter books as well.
You liked Hank.
I did.
I remember the time that I realized that you were a really serious reader was when the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out.
Yeah.
And I told Kasha that she had to read the books in order before seeing the movies.
And you had to start with The Hobbit.
I had her start with The Hobbit, and you finished The Hobbit before she did.
I did. She left it sitting out on the coffee table, and she seemed to have abandoned it there. So I was like, okay, I'll just
abandoned book.
This
We
has
can't
some
have an abandoned
really
book around.
cool looking illustrations in it and stuff. So I went and read it. I believe I skimmed the songs in the first time through, where I was like, that is unnecessary. But if there was, I did not skim any riddles, but I did skim the songs. I loved the riddles, but also Redwall books were really big. Yeah.
And the picture, one of my favorite pictures from your childhood was when you were about 8 and you're laying in bed with your toes peeking out from under the quilt with
Piercing the Darkness.
Yeah. Or This Present Darkness.
Yeah, either one. It's kind of hefty for
I know.
However old I was.
Yeah.
7, 8. Yeah, I forgot about those. Those were I feel like those were my first almost like thriller type book that I was dipping my toe into.
Gateway book.
Gateway to what? Exactly. But yeah, it was that was when I got my first taste for that, where I was like, oh yeah, this is good. I like darker elements.
Have you gone through seasons where you don't read as much as what you did when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like even now, I don't read physical copies of books as much as I do listen to audiobooks right now, because I have 2 kids, so that are 6 and
they're adorable.
2, and so
I'll put pictures in.
I tend to listen to books while I'm doing chores and doing things around the house, or on drives, or whatever fit my books in.
Exercising.
That way. Exercising, yeah. I'll listen to books while I'm hiking or on the treadmill or whatever. Yep.
What kind of books do you find yourself drawn towards right now?
I'm actually getting into more like psychological thrillers lately.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Where I'm heading back. I just read Dark Matter. I think Blake Crouch. Yeah.
It's a good one.
It is. It was really good. I was like, ooh yeah, I forgot about this genre altogether for a minute, and getting back into it.
You've been into fantasy for a long time. So tell me about like some of your favorite fantasy series, novels, that kind of stuff.
Trying to think, because there's so many categories for even that, because there's like on the more childish end of things to darker.
So there's
ones.
like middle grade, young adult.
Yeah, so like with the younger ones with fantasy specifically, because Wrinkle in Time wouldn't exactly be.
It's kind of fantasy sci-fi.
But it's sci-fi. It's more on this. Yeah, it's more on the sci. Sci-fi and fantasy tend to be in the same area of the library, so it was kind of like getting those. Trying to think of ones that I really liked. I would say that obviously like Lord of the Rings.
You liked Anne McCaffrey's series.
Yes.
The Dragon Song, Dragon Singer.
Yeah, but it was Dragon Singer. But the Singer trilogy is different.
Yeah,
than
that's
that
Calvin.
one. Yeah, that one was great. There were some series, I'm trying to even remember the name of it, but I really liked it when I read it. It was it wasn't Septimus Heap, but it was another seventh son of a seventh. I did like Artemis. Those were funny. But there was like a seventh son. of a seventh son that was not I Am 4. And it was more like early settlers time period, but it was a series. That was stuff that I feel like I was getting introduced to more at that age as well, where it was some of those darker elements of history that I wanted to know more about as well. That just kind of put
you should talk a little bit about, because you have been discovering lately and telling me about the fact that it's almost angered you how little of history you were taught in school, right? In growing up, in comparison to what,
like, just true
history, just what
kind
you
of
weren't taught,
history,
right?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It's not something that has angered me exactly in like no anger or animosity towards you.
Oh no,
as my teacher, because it was like
I was teaching what was in the book.
Exactly, and there wasn't access to information the way that it is, the way that we have access now. It wasn't as widely available for a lot of that stuff. We have the internet. We have a lot of stuff that we're able to.
Melinda's older than the internet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Barely.
Jude is older than
Melinda, same person. But yeah, it's now I have a lot of friends that are able to give me books, because even with my history books that I've been getting for my kids to read to them, it's still like I have to go outside of that, or even put some disclaimers before I'm even like reading different parts of it, where I'm like, well, this is one person's perspective.
Right. Which
there are other perspectives that we will be reading.
Yeah. From
this book and that one, but a lot of the other perspectives of history are kind of standalone books, which is a good way to do history.
Yeah,
in a way, I guess.
It's not bad at all.
Breaks it down really well. So.
I think that, I mean, history, it's not definitive from one person. It can never be definitive from one person, because
it's more complex.
Your experience is never going to be your brother's
or my brother's experience or whatever. Like there's a lot of perspectives to learn from.
Yeah. So I know that, did you ever end up reading all of at least what was out of Game of Thrones? And so you've read Game of Thrones.
And I went back to Song of Ice and Fire as well. I believe the ones that he started writing as like the prequels.
Oh, okay.
To, because he kind of went back and started writing prequel books before finishing the series, which he hasn't done still. But
so you obviously enjoyed it.
I did. I enjoy fantasy with darker elements to it. So yeah, I did enjoy.
I know that you also read The Magicians series.
I did read those.
I'm just trying to think of maybe some other
books to movies.
Complete series that you've read, maybe. What about? Did you ever read Way of Kings? Did you ever?
I haven't. I literally, when I was managing a coffee shop in Nashville, or not managing, but working at that one, there was a woman that came in that actually gave me a copy of Way of Kings, because she was like, "You're into fantasy books and you really enjoy this," and I was like, "Yeah, sweet." And then I haven't read it, so I think I went to get the audiobook and I didn't like the narrator or something.
Really?
It was.
He's a pretty
well,
good narrator.
Maybe it was a different one that I'm thinking of. I'll have to circle back and check.
Okay.
But there was something that I was like, ooh, maybe not for me right now.
I know that you read at least Strange the Dreamer not long ago, right?
Creepy.
Okay, So Laini
So-
Taylor's Strange
the Dreamer, and then what's the...
Muse of Nightmares?
Yeah, read them.
You read them both?
Yeah.
What'd you think about
I
those?
really liked them. Those were awesome. Strange the Dreamer especially.
Yeah.
Out of the two, like, obviously you need both for the complete story. But yeah, I really liked it a lot. It was awesome. And I haven't finished the Historian. That was the other one that because it's so long that I got it on Libby on the library app, and my hold ran out, or like my checkout period ran out before I could finish it. So I've been on hold to get it back for like 6 weeks. So I've been waiting to finish it, but I haven't finished it yet.
The Historian is a alternate history, almost alternative history novel about the possibility of who Dracula was, or who he's based off of anyway.
Which I really enjoyed. Dracula, like Bram Stoker's, and then I did one summer, I had just like a gothic summer where I just went through all of
Don't we all?
so I did like Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre and Dorian Gray and Frankenstein
I
and
remember
Dracula
that.
and read all of them, and there's more than that, but yeah, I think I read some Edgar Allan Poe, and
You like Poe.
I do like Poe. He's pretty great.
I kind of like him too.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
The TV series?
no. I read this last October an author that's new to me this year, or this past year, and her name is T. Kingfisher, and she has a book that is based on The House of Usher by Poe, and it is so good. It is so good.
What is it
It's called What Moves the Dead. So you'll have to pick that one up.
Will do.
What about classics? Since you went there, what about classics that you grew up reading that you still really love?
Girl of the Limberlost,
Obviously.
that was a favorite. I was like, as a friend of mine put it, it was her romantic awakening as a child. But it's not a very well known classic.
I actually have some friends that have read that book that do not like it.
Yeah, well, to each their own. A lot of people like Freckles more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also Jane Stratton Porter.
Yeah.
And that's like a little spin-off from one of the characters.
I think
in
Freckles was
Limberlost.
actually written first.
Oh, was it?
And then Girl of the Limberlost was more, which is why they don't really explain who Freckles is in Girl of the Limberlost, because I think the assumption is you've already read
Freckles. I got it.
And it's kind of like he makes a guest appearance in the second book, and it's like, oh yeah, he's back. But I'm like,
Not really.
Yeah.
But you liked Girl of the Limberlost. What else?
George MacDonald stuff in general. I really liked The Princess and the Goblin, The Wise Woman.
The Wise
Loved
Woman.
The Wise Woman.
Me too.
Phantom Tollbooth was an all-time favorite, which is a classic.
Right. Your sister and I actually talked about Phantom Tollbooth when she was here.
Yeah, Uncle Blaine sent that to her, and then
And you read it.
read it. He gave us some great stuff, but what would you expect from
A
an
writer.
author?
Okay, so those were when you were really young. What about when you were a teenager? What classics do you remember from being a teenager that you still really like?
I really liked Dorian Gray and Frankenstein were probably my favorite from the Gothic summer. And then, what ones did I read a lot of Charles Dickens. And Nicholas Nickleby was my favorite of the Dickens books. And then I read some Jane Austen, but I preferred Elizabeth Gaskell.
Gaskell.
Yeah, North and South, Cranford, Wives and Daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones are great. Of Jane Austen's, Persuasion was my favorite.
Still mine.
It's also yours. That's so funny. I relate to her the most.
Anne,
yeah, because I was just kind of like, even now in friend circles and stuff, I'm kind of the sounding board for different things where
the one that everything gets set
whereas
on.
if there is gossip, it dies on me. And it's one of the wittier books.
I think so too, but I actually have a friend that just did not finish it because she was so bored.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, you might be just a little too young
to
understand it all then.
Yeah, I've run into that a lot where I've introduced friends to movies or books that I thought were really witty or funny, and they didn't like them when we were young, and then they've circled back as adults and been like, this is hilarious. And even my husband, even there's different Shakespeare movies or different things where I'm like, this is so funny, and he's like, okay. And then now he's like, no, this is great.
What Shakespeare?
Which ones?
Mm-hmm.
Much Ado About Nothing with Kenneth Branagh. Although the one that Joss Whedon did in black and white was also pretty great.
Yeah, that's a good one. I really like that one.
And then Twelfth Night.
I just reread that again not long ago.
Yeah. Midsummer Night's Dream, I don't like as much. As You Like It was pretty.
What about Tempest?
I don't think I've ever watched. Are you talking about reading or watching?
Well,
because I don't think I've watched The Tempest.
You and I went to The Tempest in Shakespeare in the Park.
Right. Yeah, but I'm saying like I haven't watched it
as a movie.
And actually, when we went to see it in Shakespeare in the Park, it got rained out, and it was ironic.
Tempest. Sure goes the rain.
But I really loved the costuming and the they did a really good job. Shakespeare in the Park in Bozeman was great.
Yeah, it was
really
the best. We did we see Macbeth there too? Were you with me for that one?
Yeah, I remember because one of our friends that was with us, Jess, she was talking about how great the main actor's calves were. She was like, his calves are amazing. And they were kind of the star of the show.
I can see you, the type of personality that Melinda has, or that Jude has, is that she would have, after the show, gone up to that actor and told him what amazing calves.
Probably.
We were all complimenting your calves.
Your calves are also fantastic. Great acting. Well done.
You were telling me that currently you're listening to a book. What book was it that you are listening to right now?
I was listening to something about, it was about the life of Aristotle.
So do you do much nonfiction?
It's literally just called Aristotle, so it's not.
Oh,
Okay. I'm listening to that.
Oh, and it's by Thomas Brickhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But nonfiction, I do actually read it's probably about a 60-40 fiction and nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
Nonfiction that I read has been awesome. It's more on like parenting and mindfulness and that kind of stuff.
Business.
Some business. I have read some books on stock market trading, which is thrilling.
Melinda and her husband both have their own businesses, and so they work together on some things and work separately on some things.
And
so
try to figure out ways to make our money work for us as well. Hence,
the stock market.
With parenting, I've enjoyed the Awakened Family, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the author's name because
Okay, I'll find a picture and put
It's
it up.
challenging. It's really a cool book because it focuses more on you as the parent instead of your child or the problems that they have and the solutions of how to fix your kid. It's more like, ooh, your children are a mirror, and if you are having
This problem.
like major difficulties, maybe look at yourself and see if you're applying a lot of these things. Different things.
Where did you hear about it from?
Google.
Okay.
I was just researching where I was just like, raise kids with emotional intelligence and work on my own. And that was something that I came across.
Well, you guys, that's basically everything that I had to talk about. Did you want to say anything else?
I don't know. You've been a great host. You've been solid questions.
Thank you.
It's been. Even I was like, wow, she was like prepared for this. She just come in with the questions.
Can I have one last sugar? Just one?
One last sugar? Can you have one sugar?
Because she had sugar earlier
One
today.
singular sugar. Oh, that would be one big sugar. That is one sugar. Huh?
Fabulous sensation.
What if we had one of these? Okay.
What's that?
Can say
Ooh.
goodbye. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen.
Thanks for joining
And
us,
all those
everybody.
goodbye things, baby.
We'll see you in the next video. Bye.